Afternoon, everyone. Today we will present you our school anniversary project, which is about migration and the student generation. This group is formed by Alessandro Collazos, Katy Sanchez, Fabiana Araujo, Camila Chirinos, and me, Camila Montoya. Now I introduce you to Fabiana.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fabiana Araujo, and today I'm going to explain the most important part of all the process, that is the conceptual understanding. Key concept. The key concept is culture. Culture is related with this topic because migration makes you learn different cultures, ways of attitudes, ways of expressing, etc. The related concept is context, and it is related to the topic because if we do an artwork or we write, we can express what we are trying to say, and in this case, which is migration, and we show our knowledge of other customs. The related concept is purpose, and the purpose helped us to have a base or an idea of what we are going to do. Migration was the topic that we talked about in this bimester, and with that topic, we have done an interview and an opinion column to give our opinions and what we know about the topic. The global context, which is the origin in time and space, we understand that as time passes, there are many negative and positive changes that affect society, and the stolen generation was one of the negative issues that we discussed in the third trimester.
Our statement of inquiry is, writers use narratives to orientate the reader in journeys through time and space and to describe and reflect on the experiences of travelers. Criterion A is about videos. So in order to make our final project, we made a video talking about the stolen generation. Criterion B is based in reading. For this part, we look for lots of information about the follow rapid proof fence and migration. Criterion C is speaking. For this part, we made a presentation in press that was about an interview to Doris Pilkington. And finally, Criterion D, which is writing. We wrote opinion columns talking about the followed rabbit proof fence and also about immigrant children in US.
Next come the approaches to learning. Research, thinking, communication, self-management, and social. We used research when we were looking for information about the rubber fence and the children had. And we use communication and social every class whenever we interact with our teacher and our classmates. And we use self-management and the metacognition. These are the inquiry questions which will be answered all throughout the presentation.
Okay, so now we're going to present the evidences of our work. First of all, we have the portfolio in which we included all of our tasks and was checked in weekly by the teacher. We also have some worksheets. For example, this one was from the writing of Liberian children in the United States. And we also used the NWP English book from phase 4.
And these were also our processes from Google Classroom. And also from the blog with which we were guided from there, and we saw how we could do the jobs they gave us.
As we see in this little trailer and as we are looking at now, it's a real good story, but the story is very sad. They were three Aboriginal girls that were torn from the arms of their mothers. Then they escaped from their captors and set out on a 2,000 kilometers journey back home. Today, the riot-proof fence, now called the State Barrier Fence, stands as a barrier to entry against all invasive species such as dingoes, kangaroos, and emus, which damage crops, as well as wild dogs, which attacks livestock. And as a conclusion, we need to stop this.
How to write an opinion column. First, make your strongest and most compelling point.
Then make his point clearly and persuasively.
After that, you have to put facts and be brief.
Then you have to grab reader citation and finally provide a strong ending.
Okay, so good afternoon. Now I'm going to present our magazine. It is called Opinion because it aims to show different points of view regarding important issues all around the globe. In this special edition, we're going to take you to Australia and the United States regarding important topics, which are related, but the way the world reacted towards them is very different. Not many people look past what happened back in the 90s in Australia. Kids were separated from their parents and kept in settlements, and there's where we find our first similarity. Despite this happened a while ago, we still commit such acts in the present. Many immigrant children that come to the US looking for a better way of living are kept in settlements apart from their families. And what is worse is that they do not have enough resources required to live. Many children are ill, some are malnourished and neglected. Now let's move on with the process of making this magazine. First of all, I designed the cover page and did the table of contents and editor's letter. After that, I collected the opinion columns from my friends so that I can put it in the magazine. And finally, just see the back cover page and did some final things. But now Camila Chirinos is going to explain her part.
In class, we were assigned to make an opinion column about the river fence, and we were put together in this group to make this project. We decided to make a mixed one in hopes of transmitting our opinion to everyone else. In the first paragraph, it talks about how one of the first things we found out was that discrimination was the cause of it all. It also talks about how the Aboriginal people were treated with cruelty and no mercy. In the second paragraph, it explains how the story focuses on three girls called Molly, Gracie, and Daisy, and how they were taken away from their families, like the Aboriginals back then, and placed into the Moore River native settlement. It also says that, that unlike everyone else, the three girls managed to escape the settlement. In the third paragraph, it explains how only Molly and Daisy got back to their families because unfortunately Gracie was lured away from the other two girls and eventually placed back in the settlement. It also says how the two other girls later found out that Gracie had actually died not long after. This explains how the story made us feel sorrowful and dejected because of all the hardship all the Aboriginals had to go through, and how we felt mad about how the Australian government treated the Aboriginals. In the fourth paragraph, it talks about a few of the things that stood out to us, like the cruelty the Australian government showed towards the Aboriginals, and how the three girls were able to endure multiple weather conditions and survive with little to no resources, and with their own survival skills. In the last paragraph, it's the conclusion, which talks about how making other people feel bad about themselves or making them hate their own culture and heritage is not a way of solving problems. It also tells us that one of the things that the story can teach us is that if you put your mind up to something, then you can get it with enough determination. It ends with a question. What would you do had you been in the position of Molly, Gracie, and Daisy?
So, as we all know, the book Follow the Rabbit Proof Fence talks about three girls, Molly, Gracie, and Daisy, who were separated from their families just because they were Aboriginal children and their parents were Aboriginal too. But that didn't impede them to return with their families because they managed to escape, and after a long wait, they could arrive home. In order to know how well our partners did the last bimester and how well they understood our topic, we sent them a code so that they could play a short Kahoot about the Follow Rabbit Proof Fence, Joyce Pilkington, and the Stone Generation. We asked them questions such as, what is the Stone Generation? What is the Follow Rabbit Proof Fence? Or who was Doris Pilkington? Finally, the metacognition. Doing this project wasn't very easy. We learned more things about the stolen generation and migration by reading articles, watching videos, and even by creating our own video about the topic. For us, it was novel to create an opinion column because we have never done that before. It was difficult to edit the video and easy to organize ourselves for the presentation. We did this because we wanted to know more about the topic and to finally present our process in the school anniversary project. It was very useful because now we know more things and concepts that are not so known. These are our APA
So these
sources.
are,
Thanks.
thank you.